Think about the last time you felt real dread, that tight, sleepless, stomach knot fear. Now ask yourself what it was actually protecting you from: a deadline, an email, a conversation you didn't want to have. Your body ran a full predator alarm pounding heart, sharpened senses, a flood of stress chemicals for something that could never physically touch you. That alarm is real, and it is ancient. It was built for lions, not inboxes. And the gap between the world it expects and the world you actually live in might explain almost everything about the modern mind. So here's the question this whole video is really about. Did the people who came before us, the ones who lived for hundreds of thousands of years out there, in the cold and the dark, suffer the way we suffer now? Did they lie awake with anxiety? Did they sink into something we would call depression? Or is what we're feeling today something new, something the modern world did to a brain that was never designed for it? Let's start with the alarm itself. The feeling you call anxiety is one of the oldest pieces of technology your body owns. Strip away the emails and the deadlines, and what's left is a survival system that is breathtakingly good at its job. Your amygdala, buried deep in the brain, is a threat detector that has been running, more or less unchanged, for millions of years. Its entire purpose is to make you afraid before you have time to think, because for your ancestors, the ones who paused to calmly evaluate the rustle in the grass were the ones who got eaten. The nervous ones lived. The nervous ones had children, and you are their descendant. Think about that for a second. Every anxious impulse you have was, at some point, a reason someone in your line survived long enough to pass it on. The racing thoughts, the scanning for danger, the inability to relax when something feels wrong. This wasn't a glitch. It was the single most protective thing a human brain could do. But here's where it gets complicated, because that system was tuned for a very specific world. A world where the threats were real, physical, and over quickly. A lion charges. You run. It's decided in seconds, and then it's finished. The danger passes, the chemicals clear, and the body goes quiet again. Now look at the threats you face. They don't charge and leave. They linger. A job you might lose in 6 months. A conversation that went wrong 3 years ago and still replays at 3 a.m. A vague, endless sense that you are behind on a race with no finish line. Your ancient alarm can't tell the difference between a predator and a worry. It fires the same way for both. But the worry never resolves, so the alarm never shuts off. And a survival system that never stops running stops being survival. It becomes suffering. This is the idea at the heart of it, something researchers call evolutionary mismatch. Your brain is running ancient software on a machine it was never installed for. The hardware is Stone Age. The world is not. So, did prehistoric people feel anxiety? Almost certainly yes, but it likely worked the way it was supposed to. It spiked when a real threat appeared, and it faded when the threat was gone. What they probably didn't have is the thing that defines so much modern anxiety: an alarm with no off switch, ringing at shadows that never arrive. There's a striking hint of this in the present. Depression is now one of the leading causes of disability on the entire planet. Hundreds of millions of people carry it. And yet, when researchers have looked at some of the last remaining hunter-gatherer and small-scale societies, a few have reported strikingly low rates of the chronic, clinical version we know. I want to be careful here, because this research is limited, hard to measure across cultures, and genuinely contested. It is not proof of anything. But it's a thread worth pulling. Same species, same brain, wildly different lives, and possibly wildly different outcomes for the mind. And here's what's stranger. The same logic might apply to something much heavier. For a long time, we've treated low mood as pure malfunction. But some researchers have argued that even depression, in its milder and more ancient forms, may have started as something with a function. Think about what it actually does. It pulls you inward. It drains your motivation to act. It makes you withdraw, go quiet, stop taking risks. That sounds purely destructive until you imagine a prehistoric human who has just suffered a devastating loss, or a crushing failure in the group, or an injury that makes the usual bold behavior deadly. In that moment, a mind that forces you to stop, retreat, and conserve energy might have been protective, a kind of enforced pause, a signal that says, something is wrong, stay still, don't make it worse. Some scientists call versions of this the analytical rumination idea, the notion that low mood evolved partly to make a struggling mind slow down and grind through a hard problem instead of charging ahead. It's a debated theory, And I want to be honest that it is far from settled, but it points at something important. The feeling might be ancient. What's new is how long it lasts, and how little in the modern world ever lets it lift. Now, this is the part where it would be easy to tell you a beautiful lie. That prehistoric people were serene, that they lived in harmony, free of the mental anguish that plagues us, and that everything wrong with our minds is the fault of modern life. It's a comforting story. It's also almost certainly false. Their world was not gentle. They watched children die from things we now cure with a pill. They faced starvation, violence between groups, injuries with no medicine, and a level of grief and loss most of us will never know. The idea that ancient humans had no psychological suffering isn't just unproven, it ignores how brutal survival actually was. They almost certainly experienced terror, despair, and heartbreak. What they may not have experienced is our specific modern version of it, the chronic, low-grade, never-resolving kind. The suffering that comes not from a lion, but from a life the brain can't quite make sense of. Because think about what we've removed. We took away the constant physical danger, and with it, the constant physical release. Your ancestors ran, fought, hauled, climbed, and collapsed exhausted under the stars, surrounded every single day by the same small group of people who knew them completely. Their stress had somewhere to go. Their fear had a shape. Their lives were hard, but they were legible. We kept the alarm system and deleted almost everything that used to resolve it. We sit still while our bodies scream to move. We scroll through 1,000 strangers while feeling profoundly alone. We are safe in every way our ancestors dreamed of, and anxious in ways they might not even recognize. We solved the lion and accidentally built the inbox. And consider one more thing we changed: the dark itself. For almost all of human history, night was a shared event. When the light failed, people gathered close, together, near the fire, and the fear of the dark was answered by the simple fact that you were not in it alone. Now we meet the night by ourselves, in separate rooms, lit by screens, often at the exact hour the ancient mind is most primed to feel exposed. The same 3 a.m. dread that once pulled a tribe tighter together now finds each of us alone in the glow of a phone. The alarm still fires. The circle that used to answer it is gone. So step back and look at what that means. The mental struggles you feel are not a sign that you are broken. In a strange way, they are a sign that your brain is working exactly as it was built, to sounding ancient alarms, running ancient programs, trying to protect you from a world that no longer matches the one it expects. You are not a malfunctioning modern person. You are a perfectly good Stone Age mind, doing its best in a place it was never meant to be. And maybe that's the part worth holding on to. Not that the feelings are fake, they are painfully real, but that they are not evidence of something wrong with you. They are the echo of something that once kept your entire species alive. The fear that keeps you up at night was, for 100,000 years, a guardian. It hasn't stopped guarding. It just can't tell that the danger is gone. Your ancestors carried these same feelings out of the dark and into every generation that followed, all the way down to you. They didn't have the words we have now, or the help we have now, but they endured, again and again, so that you could be here at all. And if any of this feels a little too familiar, if the alarm in your own mind rings louder than it should, that's worth taking seriously, and worth talking about with a real person who can help. An ancient brain in a modern world isn't something you have to carry alone. That's all for today. Anyway, please donate a subscribe to fund the next video.